And your name? Your name and when were you born and your name? Your name?
My name is Lois Clarke. Lois Sherrill Clarke. I'm from out here.
When were you born, Miss Clarke? When were you born, Miss Clarke?
I was born October the 15th, 1933.
Amen. What do you remember about growing up here?
Growing up here? Well, really, my grandmother lived out here. Percy was my uncle. And but I was raised in Idell County. And what I remember about out here is just coming to church and being down to my grandmother's house. And the revivals and the picnics and the camp meetings. This was a lively place at one time for us. We thought it was because that's all we knew. We didn't know nothing about it. But this was a blessed place. Then and it's still a blessed place for me because this is home. I remember the first pastor I remember out here was Reverend Friend. You ever heard of him? Reverend Friend. I don't know who came next. I don't forget. But I'll never forget Reverend Friend.
What can you tell us about him, Reverend Friend?
What can I tell you about Reverend Friend? He lived in Mooresville, so did we, on Shop Street. And he had a large family, and he was a powerful speaker. I love to hear him speak. Don't ask me what I remember, because I remember nothing. When I get out of here, I won't remember what we talked about. But I don't remember much that he said, but I just remember that he was my pastor. And he had a bunch of kids. Henry, I don't forget the name now. It's been so many years, I've forgotten. But he was a loving piece. It was a bunch of people. I can't remember the rest of them. Reverend, I said he was Reverend Friend, didn't I? No, I can't remember.
You grew up on Shop Street in Mooresville?
On Sharp Street in Mooresville, where I went to school. Walked from Eastern Heights to West End.
Where'd you go to school? Where did you go to school?
Where did I go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
When I got out, I got married, and then went to France.
Okay.
I didn't go to school, I went to...
Where'd you go to school here? Where did you go to school when you were here?
Unity.
Unity.
I graduated from Unity. And I went to South Irish School.
Okay. Do you remember camp meeting or anything about the church here?
Had camp meetings and campgrounds and fish fries and good food and all that good stuff. Yes, I remember that. That was good. You all missed it. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But that's what they had. Good fish fries and good cookings and good pies, good cakes. I thought everything was good. I was just a hungry kid and ate up everything I could. But this has been a lively place, and I guess it still is. I'm just too old to connect.
How were the relationships between blacks and whites before you moved to France?
Blacks and whites? we were segregated. But if you had a white family that was your neighbor, you were good friends. So just about on the road where I live now, and grew up on that road, and grew up with the white folks, we were all friends. But I remember being at home at night, and hearing Mama and them talk about clans meeting down in the woods from where we were. I lived, you know where the zoo is in Troutman? Well, I live right up the road from it. And I was raised all up in that area. And it was a lovely place to live. No, everybody got along fine. The white folks were, we were about just about the only black folks that lived on the road. So we knew all the white folks, they knew us, and they were our friends. We got along fine at the time, just the family of us, you know. But as I grew up going to South Area High School. You remember that? South Area? Yeah, catching the school bus. All that good fun. Going to school. And my daddy built a house, and we built up further north up. And I had to go to Unity. Unity! I know you heard about Unity. That's the school. That was the school. And I went to Unity, and that's where I finished. And got out of school, and got married like a nut, but I did. And he was in service, and I started traveling. And I went everywhere. Went to Europe, back home. I had 7 kids, but I had a good life. And eventually, he was going to retire. My husband was going to retire in service. And they sent him over to Vietnam. And he never got back. Still over there somewhere. I don't know where he is. They don't know where he's living or dead. But that's where he is. In the unknown. I've had a happy life, and I've had a sad life, and I've had a disappointing life, but it's all been good because the God I serve sits high.
Your parents, what do you, can you tell us about your parents?
My parents. Well, like I said, my mother died when I was 3 years old, my real mother. And my daddy married my stepmother, and my stepmother, I guess she was fairly nice to us. We went to school, and my daddy didn't go to college. He was just a regular old worker. Worked in factories and plants, and we had to pick cotton. Yeah. Cotton was the king. Everybody get out there and pick cotton. All the black folks. And that was survival for us. We didn't think nothing about it, but get on out there, get that sack, and go on out there and pick cotton. Oh, cotton. We lived on a farm all my life. But once it got grown, I graduated from high school. I got married, went to Europe. Life began different.
Were you sharecroppers?
I went to Europe.
Were you sharecroppers on the farm? Were you giving Were you giving the crop to someone else?
Yeah.
Okay.
They still had that. But my daddy was doing more working in Mooresville and Trouters. And he did more public, they didn't do a lot of public work. Farming then. But that's the way I grew up, the hard way. The hard road. And it wasn't good. Easy thing for black folks. But life is what you make it.
Amen.
You can make it and take it, or take it and not make it. You know. So we were always taught to do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And that's the way we lived. We lived in at that time on the road, you don't know anything about Troutman? Oswald Amity? Well, I was raised on that road. I was born down that road. And I always lived, my neighbors have always been white. You know, we were all farmers. Hey, you didn't know that, but it's just another farmer out there. And they all treated us like family. They treated us nice. We didn't have, but at night, when we'd go to bed, when I was little, I used to hear Mama tell me, pull the shades down, because they're probably going to have a Klan meeting down there. They had their little thing still going, but they didn't bother us. I mean, they weren't mean to us. They were good neighbors for us.
Do you remember them doing anything?
Huh?
Do you remember them doing anything to anyone else?
No. No, I thought they were good neighbors. That's all I knew. That's all I knew. We didn't have no television. We did have a radio sometimes. But I didn't see them as bad. But I guess they were. I don't know what they did when they got behind the blankets, the sheets or whatever it is. I don't know what they did. But for us, they were nice to us. We didn't have any problem out of them. They were friends with my daddy. Daddy worked with them, and they worked with my daddy to help. Well, hey, where I lived out in the country, we always just trying to survive. And whoever it was there, your neighbor, that could help you, you better help them, and they would help you if they could. That's the way I grew up, in the country.
Your husband's
But I
name?
loved it, and I'm still in the country. I still live practically but a couple miles from where I was born. Said I was born down in the woods somewhere, an old ragged house. Here I am. Survived it.
Is that close to Neiltown? Was that close to Neiltown?
Near town.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were about 5 or 6 miles from it. Near town was closer to Mooresville. And we were in the middle of Mooresville and Troutman. My home address is Troutman. And Neartown was right across there. We went to Neartown Church. We knew all the Neartown neighbors, the black ones. Life was, we were poor, but life was good to us. I mean, I grew up in a segregated time. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But I was raised in a family that you went to bed praying and you get up praying. And before you ate, you prayed. My grandfather is buried right down there. And he was a praying man. And he lived to be in his 90s. I don't know exactly how old he was. But we we were black, and we had to not pretend like we were black. We had to act like we were black, you know. But my parents taught us, do unto others as you would have others do to you. And they tried to keep biblical thoughts in our mind. And I'm glad they did, because after I got up, got grown, and married, I went to Europe. I went a lot of places. My husband's in the Air Force, but he still is lost. We got missing in Vietnam. But I've had a good life. I haven't had my problems. I haven't had a lot of racial, just segregation in this general. Yes. I had to sit in the back of the bus and do all the other things the black folks did. And I don't care where I went until segregation ended. That's the way it was. When I'd go to California, catch the bus and go to California, when it was segregated, you better get to the back of that bus. I don't care where you were going. New York, I guess. It was for me. Well, I guess I was raised up like that, and I just knew to go. And I knew how to protect myself, take myself on back to the back. So that's the way life was with me. It was, my mother died when I was about 3 years old. And so life was rough for me, kind of, all the way up through life. But God helped me. They taught me to pray and go to church. This was church. Mars was one of the churches we went to. But we lived in Troutman area. But we came out here every Sunday with my grandfather when he was living. He died in the 40s. He was born in 1850. Can you believe that? Born in 1850. He died in the 1940s.
Do you remember what he did?
When I met him, he was a watchmaker for one thing. He had a little shop out there. Because he used to have to watch me. When everybody else was going to the field, going to work or wherever, nobody was taking care of me but Grandpa. And I don't know what he did in the shop, but that's what it was. You work with watches, and he was an intelligent old man. He was intelligent. Yeah. You know where Terry Graham's home was?
No, man.
Up there in Troutman. You don't know? It's near the fairground out there, off of 21. And it's growing up like a big city. One day it will be into my sorrow. I like the country. I'm a country girl. Born in the country, raised in the country, hope to die in the country.
What was your husband's name?
Fred Clarke. And he was raised in Statesville, born in Statesville, grew up in Statesville. He was a city boy, but I was a country girl. Picked blackberries, did it all, pulled lollipops. We had a hard life, but it was a joyful life, because we knew that's the only way we could survive it. And prayer. And we had plenty of prayer in our home, you know. And God forgive me. And that's one thing I have gotten away from. I don't keep that family prayer going like I should, like my grandfather did for us. My grandfather, the one I was telling you about, died, was born in 1850. when you went at his house, when you're at his house, he didn't care how old you were. Before you went to bed, the family gathered together in his living room for family prayer. And when you get up in the morning before breakfast, came back together, family prayer. He was the prayingest man I ever. But, and the night before you go to bed, you had to pray. So I was brought up in a family, I know, family atmosphere. If I got away from it, God forgive me, but help me. Thank you for your help, and your love, and your mercy, and your grace, and your truth. And God is, one thing I want young folks to always remember. I don't care where you go, or what you do, God is still up there for you, willing to help you. All you gotta do is ask, seek, and what?
You will find.
You shall find. Knock, and what? The door will be open. That's all you have to do. Humble yourself and get back to me. And that's what I'm trying to do for me now. Get back to the way it was. Because of television and modern things, it kind of got you away from it, you know. But I still know when I go to bed at night, prayer is what I need, you know, in case I don't wake up. And in case I get sick through the night, I know who I've called on to help me. But we came from a powerful church, this one.